I've been working with these people. I know them, right? I know how they work by
You think
now.
you do.
Well, hold on. How are you going to tell? How are you going to show me that that there's something that I don't know after working with these people for 10 years?
So, in working with these people for 10 years, you've only been able to look at them through one perspective. That's yours. You can only look at them through your eyes. Okay? So, whatever assumptions, stories, beliefs you've created about them have been from within your own context. One small part of the system. All right?
Okay.
So that's one way of knowing, and it's a valid way of knowing. I'm not saying that. I'm saying you do know a lot about those people. Of course you do. You know, though, from a particular perspective. And the stories that you create about them and about your relationship reflect your perspective. If we were able to leave you in the system, but pop you out and allow you to sort of see yourself in that relationship, something physically that's impossible to do unless we have somebody represent us or we, place something for us, then you would begin to understand yourself in those relationships differently. And you would begin to know those people differently. Imagine you could stand in the shoes of somebody who works for you, for instance, looking at you as the boss, with their history and the stresses and strains of their life on them, and the way that the company functions, all overlaid on that. They might have a very different perception and a very different story that they tell about your relationship and who they are than the one that you've created. So you can only know a little bit if you look from your eyes and say, I know you. And it's really that we know each other through these interactions and through relationships over time. So when you can be actually sort of lifted out of that and get the bird's eye view, if you will, and hear from them how they perceive you, how they perceive other people, in a perhaps more simple but more honest way, it will begin to shift your perception of those relationships. What I have found in working with groups are fascinating. What I found in working with groups is that very often we really don't know each other as well as we think. What we know are the stories we've created about the other. And those stories filter what we take in. As soon as the mind makes a story, it would like that story to be true, thank you very much. So it's going to filter the things that match that and discard pieces that don't. And we do this very quickly. We make assumptions. We have to understand the world so we know how to act in it. So we make assumptions very quickly. So very often we don't actually know the other members of our team or the people that we've worked with as well as we think we do. We know one sliver of their being, but not them.
But what else do I need to know other than, what they need to do, what they can bring to us? Yeah, the way they work with other people, yeah, but what do I need to know besides that?
In terms of?
In terms of just, you're saying I have this one perspective and I only know what I see in the workplace.
You said I know these people.
Yeah.
You know them in that context and in that from your perspective.
Yeah.
But you really don't know necessarily how they're functioning in the larger system. And you don't know, for example, there's one constellation we did for somebody and there was a fellow there that everybody said, yeah, he gets his job done. And when we had the boss place him, make this image, he turned this fellow so the guy was looking out the window. And when we had the person representing that manager, that was an executive setting up his team, the guy said, I don't know what it is, I just can only see the green fields, I hear these guys back here going yap, 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 but I'm totally out there. And it suddenly dawned on this guy, oh, he's a year from retirement. He's not really in the group. And he'd been making stories up about why the guy was being so lazy and maybe he should push him a little harder and, this and that. But the reality was this guy's 1 year from retirement. He's really halfway out the door.
So, from what you've encountered, people tend to keep so much. They're not. There's
It's
a lot
not
of
that we
themselves
don't
that they're not sharing.
It's not that we don't share. That's actually not the problem.
Yeah.
It's that we don't allow ourselves to see and feel other people. This is what I was talking about. It's like we can only handle so much. And in organizations, you know, there's already another task to do, or often many, many tasks to do. It's like we can't really allow ourselves to know that other person in too deep a way. It would be overwhelming if we did. We have our family, and then we have all these people, and you know, so that would be too much. But often what happens is we substitute, when there's a difficulty especially, we substitute taking that moment to really look at that person in their reality and say, oh yeah, this guy's a year from retirement. I wonder what that's like for him. We don't ask that question. We go, God, that guy is so lazy. I know him. He's become lazier and lazier the older he got. You can't hire old people. I mean, this is literally what our minds do. That's the mind. It has to explain things. It's not bad. It's just trying to make sense. Okay? So when we can take that moment and just really open, and it's actually an opening here. It's not, I mean, it's like we have to really pause and breathe and stop moving and allow ourselves to feel that other person just for that moment. We're going to know something about them. It's like, God, he's tired. He's worked here for 20 years. Man, he must be exhausted. And we can get that exhaustion that that guy's feeling. Then when we go to interact with it, I'm his boss, right? When I go to interact with him, I'm going to go with a completely different agenda. I'm going to say, you know, Hal or Jeff or whatever your name is, you've worked here so long and you know so much about this organization, and I know you're looking forward to retirement. How can we help you really leave that legacy in a good way? That's going to engage him. You know, that's going to bring him back in. And that's really respecting who he is. I'm not trying to manage my idea of him. I'm managing our relationship, really, and his relationship with the other parts of the system, including the golf course. So he's going to retire, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool.